everyone. This is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm all ready for an interview on The Beach House with Noah Gros. Noah plays Randall in the film. Was available earlier this year on Shudder and is now coming to video on demand, DVD, and Blu-ray. We're going to talk to Noah in just a second, but first, let's check out that trailer. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that'd be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
When you see someone change in front of you, and you know there's no going back, it scares me to death.
No one's been here in months.
It's beautiful.
I love you, you know.
I love you too.
Does anyone need a refill?
Yes, please. Have you seen this out here before? It's in the trees.
It's all over. Something in the air.
I felt a little lightheaded before.
I don't feel good.
What is going on?
I don't know. Something from the water.
I can feel it on the side.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Hey, Noah.
What's up, boss?
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for your time. Ready to talk about the Beach House, which I think it's the romantic follow-up to the Lake House, right? That's what this film is about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just a fun-filled film to
light
start your summer.
rom-com for the holidays.
I really liked how you emulated Keanu Reeves. It was a different role.
Different take on him, but I'm glad you got that. Not everyone gets this.
Thank you. So The Beach House is a very, very different film. It is an interesting psychological kind of horror movie that it kind of hit this summer. The timing was kind of perfect. As terrible as it could be coming in the pandemic, it hit during Shudder, and now it's coming for video on demand and DVD and physical. So I guess what was it that drew you to this film, and specifically the role of Randall?
I think it was just the script originally. It was, I remember reading it and just immediately feeling like it was sort of unlike anything else I had read, and just feeling that it was a very specific, well thought out. It wasn't vague. It wasn't, cliche or playing on tropes in any sort of like obvious way. And then when I talked to Jeff about it, the director and the writer, just everything he was talking about as far as like movies he quoted or books or stories or music or whatever that he thought that he wanted the film to feel like, they were all things that I thought really were great ideas and things that resonated with me, and it was really talking to him and reading the script that got me wanting to be a part of it. And I think like with Randall, like my approach, it was like, I wouldn't specifically say that like he is a character that I'm like, was like immediately connected with, or was really, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think it was just sort of the story as a whole that really I wanted to be a part of. And I think when I approached like my idea with Randall, like it was sort of just to be as much of a foil to the, calm, collected, super together, super driven, super boom, 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 boom kind of character that Emily was, played like by Liana. And I think that's just sort of his function in the story in a lot of ways, is to like be a foil to her and to help, the audience, experience her and that journey, and also that kind of relationship, right? That early 20s college sort of thing where people are at two different places in their life.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting point. You mentioned you tried to be her foil, because it was kind of nice to see that your two very different approaches in this film, and it's such a compact movie, and there aren't a ton of characters, so Randall was pretty much the only one you could play. It's nice that you had that totally play off of each other. So
and I think that's sort of like what I also liked about this movie, is that I felt like at the heart of it, it's like there's this relationship, right? And I think like there's something very human about and relatable, I think, right, about I think most people would watch this movie and probably want to think that they're more like Emily than Randall. You know what I mean? Like he's not the most awesome guy, you know what I mean? But I think
Yeah.
everyone, whether they want to admit it or not, in a lot of ways, has moments of not knowing what the hell they want to do with their life. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
especially in your early 20s, you know, I can speak for myself at least. Like there are definitely moments. You know, I'm 27 now, but and I still feel that way sometimes. But like, you know, back then, especially, I'm like trying. You know, you're just graduating college, or you're graduate, and you're like, okay, like here I am. What the heck am I gonna do?
Well, yeah, and especially kind of now when you see all these stories where you have people that go to college, kind of do the right thing, and then enter into a market that doesn't have any jobs for them, or now with the pandemic, with
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of entry level positions probably
No,
going
I mean, I
under.
have
Yeah.
my younger brother. You know, he's just graduated, like right before the pandemic, basically, and it's just like not a whole lot going on. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I think that's I think, and then the flip side of that too is I have friends that are my age that have been doing this, and like they've had real like moments of like changing careers during this, because all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like everything I thought I wanted or whatever, I don't actually want. So I think Randall, like there's a little bit of him, so to speak, in everyone. And I think sort of the film, I think what's cool is like you have these two people drifting apart, like the relationship is not really working anymore. And then this sort of like cosmic, crazy freak event forces them back together in like a very profound way. You know what I mean?
It's you could just be describing life right now, right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm sure there are plenty of couples out there who are like, kind of on the rocks or whatever, and then like all of a sudden you're quarantining together, and like you're just in it, and it's just
Yeah.
like thing. And I think a lot of people, like, how many people like have had to I know someone who had to move home or like be back with their parents, or people moving in with other people that like that was not the plan, you know what I mean? But then like I think that's sort of what happens in this movie too. Like all these people have plans, they're all trying to figure things out, and then all of a sudden this huge event happens, and it's like all those problems you thought you had, like, well, maybe you have them, but you have to put them on hold or put them aside for now, because there's this bigger, more pressing issue that everyone needs to deal with.
And I think the parallels with today are very interesting. It's something that I don't think any of you, well, I don't think any of you could have thought of it. But does this does our current situation kind of make you reevaluate some of the things about the beach house, or give it some new meaning? Because it is very kind of striking how relatable that film, which was filmed before we had any idea of a pandemic or a lockdown or some sort of
Yeah, I
airborne
mean, I
virus.
think like I think it just probably like hit. I think a lot of the choices I would have made are probably, similar. It's always interesting, like thinking back, like I feel like sometimes I'll watch movies now and I'll be like, oh, they're not wearing masks.
Yeah.
Like I was watching last night. I was watching the Born Supremacy, and there's like they're in some lobby or whatever, and no one's wearing. And I remember just thinking like, why isn't anyone? And then I was like, oh yeah, this was made in 2000. Like no one thought about that stuff yet. And I think with this, like, I think a lot of the choices I made, I probably would still make. But I think perhaps the way the movie is going to affect, and it's going to settle, like hit with, like resonate with audiences is just going to be different, right? Because I think before it was like this sort of like warning sort of thing of like, in the same way that like it's just so extreme, in the same way you watch like, I don't know, like a slasher, like all these super gory movies, and it's sort of like it's so crazy, it's sort of a little detached, you can kind of detach from them a little bit more. But now that we've all gone through this sort of experience of like the outside or whatever being like dangerous, and like these tiny little microbes that we can't fucking see or like ruining everyone's lives, I think everyone, it's just gonna like sit differently, and I mean it might be scarier. You know what I mean? Because like, in good times or whatever, you can. I think part of the fun of horror is you turn it off and it's done. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, thank God. And now like you turn this movie off and it's like, well, maybe like you're not vomiting goo or whatever, but you're
It's
living in
still,
a
yeah,
pandemic.
it's still dangerous to be out, or it could potentially be
Could
dangerous to
be,
be
yeah. I
outside.
mean, you don't
Yeah,
know, right?
there's a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple more minutes left. I'd like to move. I call it the lightning round. It's just lightweight questions, kind of about the film and characters, to see how
Yeah,
your
good.
experiences map. So I guess first one is where would your ideal beach location be, or beach vacation be?
My ideal beach vacation. God, where's like Bali? How about that?
That's a good choice. Also sad because none of us can go there right now,
Yeah, exactly.
probably.
I don't know, anywhere, not
Yeah.
America.
So in this film, we kind of brought it up earlier. You and Liana's character go to kind of clear your head or work on yourselves. Where would you go to, do that to write or clear your head or kind of think about your life?
I mean, now, like my bedroom.
Like I just go to the bathroom. That's about
Yeah,
the
like
only
yeah,
place.
exactly, like pace around my house. No, I mean, I think I grew up in Wyoming. I grew up in like a small town, and I've always, going back there is always, it's good to, reset. Just get out of. I've lived in New York, now I live in Los Angeles, and it's like every time I go back home, it's nice to just sort of like take a
Yep.
deep breath because the pace is just so much slower. It's just like you just drop down like 3 octaves, so to speak.
That's a good answer. Have you ever gone to like a hotel room or someplace that you rented and found someone there that you didn't expect?
Um, no, 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 but I have, when I was living in New York, I definitely had moments of like, coming back to my apartment and there being someone, that had gotten into the lobby, I guess. That's in
Oh
a
wow.
different, that was not supposed to, that was
Yeah.
not supposed to be there. And then you have to kindly ask them to, please leave.
Yeah. Or just ignore them and just
Yeah,
walk
no,
quickly.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or just like, I suddenly have tunnel vision.
Yep. What do you find more interesting, deep space or deep sea?
So, that's hard. I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for space, to be quite honest. So,
All right.
space.
Can't wait for the follow-up, the beach house set on the moon.
Yeah,
It'll
me
be an
neither.
interesting one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you afraid of the fog now?
No, no, not yet. Not yet. I'm holding on to dear life for it to be like kind of a, well, maybe when I'm driving in fog kind of sucks, but
That's true. That
walking
is a
around
very
in it
scary
is
one.
kind of cool.
And so, have you ever stepped on some painful animal at the beach or in the water?
Yeah, I mean, I've stepped on a jellyfish. It
Okay.
sucks.
All right. And have you been to the beach since you finished filming this movie?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have. I have. You know, I think maybe like the weird thing about movie making, I think, is because you're in it, it doesn't like get freak you out quite as much. Like I remember watching before I started working on movies, like some movies would just terrify me, you know what I mean? But then
Mhm.
like I remember when I watched Jaws for the first time, I was like deep water, just I was like, I can't. I was younger and I couldn't handle it. But then I like, you revisited it, and then like I remember I think I went to Universal Studios at one point and saw the fake shark or something like that they have there, and all it got, I was able, it's sort of like, oh, this isn't real.
Yeah,
Like
you can compartmentalize it. Yeah.
I can go back in the water again.
And then you saw open water and you were terrified again. You're like,
Yeah,
oh
no,
man,
no,
this is
yeah,
never.
exactly. Since then, I'm sort of, dry land only.
Well, so the movie is out on Shudder and also on personal video on demand, DVD and Blu-ray. Now that it's out and you're kind of feels like maybe done promoting it, what's next for you? Do you have anything else on the horizon?
I mean, just trying to get through this year, I think, like anyone else, right?
Yep.
I play music a lot. That's my main thing in a lot of ways, or other thing I've been doing recently, and just waiting for sessions and touring and stuff to come back. Hopefully this vaccine will
Yeah.
work. People will
Fingers
take
crossed. So
it.
seems like it changes every day. So
Yeah,
by the
that's
time you
something
watch this, maybe we'll all
I'm
be
just
immune. Yeah.
yeah. I think I, like most people, I'm in a lot of ways just sort of in limbo right now, just sort of weathering the storm.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. It's the film is a very interesting one and strangely timely, right? It wasn't supposed to be
Yeah,
this way, but it is very
unfortunately,
timely.
yeah, unfortunately, very
Yeah,
timely.
exactly. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This is Noah LaGrosse from the Beach House. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye. That was Noah LaGrosse, who plays Randall in The Beach House. The Beach House is available on Shudder and on digital on demand DVD and Blu-ray, so you can check it out in pretty much any way you'd want to, and go see what it was like to be at the beach, plan your next beach vacation. I know it's getting cold, but you can remember the warm summer that we didn't have. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot to make sure all my new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.